take you down, deep down to the front line. You woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. Your mama always said you'd be the chosen one. She said you're one in a million, you got to burn the shine. But you were born under a bad sign with a blue moon in your eye.
Hello, this is Born Under a Bad Sign with a Blue Moon in Your Eyes, a podcast about the argument of nurture versus nature in criminal psychology and the Don of New Jersey himself. To start, I'm a freshman at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I started this podcast with the intention of, if not changing your view on criminal psychology and what really creates a criminal, hopefully I today am at least able to show you a different side of things, present you some information. I don't intend for this podcast to be viewed as some argument or to spark controversy. I just wanted to throw my hat into the ring of criminal psychology. And I chose to talk about Tony Soprano, a fictitious sociopath from the hit HBO drama The Sopranos, because I've of course watched the show, and from countless review sites and critics, Sopranos has been rated as not only one of the greatest television shows of all time, but one of the greatest portrayals of a sociopath and what many would call an anti-hero, as well as one of the greatest portrayals of a patient-to-doctor relationship with his psychologist, Dr. Jennifer Melfi. And to start, I'd really like to just dive into that. I don't believe necessarily a criminal is born, nor do I believe they're just made. I think that a combination of factors leads to one to commit any certain numbers of crimes. First of all, when you examine criminology, it's kind of a wide net. I mean, there's petty crimes such as, like stealing or jaywalking or illegally parking, and then they're all the way up till murder. And when you look at it, you can't simply say oh, well, you can't group everyone together and just do that. So I specifically chose Tony Soprano as a character. I mean, he's a mob boss in the show, just criminal, awful things, many murders, cold-blooded and self-defense, things like that, as well as, obviously as a boss of a criminal organization, he has countless, counts of tax evasion, fraud, racketeering, everything under the sun. But when you look at him as a character, of course, there's the simple definition that he is a sociopath. Throughout all of his good deeds, or at least his attempts at good deeds, there's still this looming sociopathic tendency that tends to screw him up. I mean, he's a very self-destructive character, and where he comes from takes a little bit more understanding than simply saying, oh, he was, born this way, or he was always going to be this way. When you understand Tony Soprano as a character, you look at the facts that growing up, he had an incredibly abusive mother, and obviously his father was also the boss of the fictional but famous in that universe Sopranos. And throughout the show, we come to understand that when Tony was a young child, he witnessed his father chop the hand off of a salesman at a meat market because he wasn't able to pay his gambling debt in time. And this shows that even at a young age, Tony Soprano was exposed to such violent, brutal crime. And while you could argue that this was like the nurture aspect, you may also delve into the fact that, well, his father did it. I mean, his mother was also, through analysis of Tony's therapist, a sociopath herself. So the question really comes down to, where do you draw the line? I mean, when Tony was 18, he went to Seton Hall for a semester and a half and ultimately dropped out to join the family business, which does show some amount of initiative and drive to be something other than just a criminal. But in the end, he still winds up being, obviously, the boss of the Sopranos, the Don of New Jersey, which comes into question, was he doomed from the start? I mean, being born with those parents, even if he were hypothetically adopted, would he have always chosen this life of crime? And I think that brings back to the point of nurture versus nature isn't that simple. Any given criminal can be just a totally upstanding guy who's just put into awful situations. And similarly, there's countless accounts of loving parents and a good home environment that still leads to sociopathic tendencies in people. So I think that you simply cannot boil down a criminal to, oh, he was born that way, or he was born into an awful situation. I think that criminology is much more deep than that, and that sometimes people are just bad. I mean, there isn't always an exact reason to it, and unfortunately, the brutality of just defining someone as born a criminal or molded into a criminal is just an honestly grotesque encapsulation of what that person truly is. I mean, it just isn't as simple as born or made, but it is a combination of both. And this can be most thoroughly seen in the show when throughout it, Tony's wife, Carmela, urges him that maybe, we could get out of this life or escape it through witness protection. And though has shown a longing to be maybe something other, with his famous quote to Dr. Melfi, where he says, "I find that I have to be the sad clown sometimes, laughing on the outside but crying on the inside." In that he maybe joined at the end of an era, historically, mafia crime has only died down since its heyday in the 1900s. But he obviously still continues to choose this life and be a part of it for a variety of reasons, whether that be the power associated with it, the status of being rich, and maybe it's just all he's ever known. It's as simple as that. But when it comes down to it, you just simply cannot define criminals as just being nurture or nature. And I hope that my discussion on the matter has maybe swayed your opinion on it. But there's just no... And for someone to say that he's born that way, or the nature, it's something that you just really can't quantify. There's no definable statistics you can track for it. I mean, you could create a database of criminals and maybe track where they've come from, but you truly can't understand the life of someone without living it yourself, and put yourself in their shoes. So my biggest argument or word of wisdom, just the point I'm tried to make, is that it's never as simple as that. Criminology is a deeply it's a winding road of reason and psychology, And the continuation or endorsement of this argument that it's just simply nature or nurture is, to be entirely honest, quite barbaric and misleaded. And with that, that's really all I wanted to say. I hope that this examination of the character of Tony Soprano has maybe brought into your life a deeper understanding of criminology, and I hope most of all that from this is taken that there is a lot to it, and it's not as simple as just nurture and nature. So thank you. That has been Born Under a Bad Sign with a Blue Moon in Your Eyes, a podcast about the argument of nurture versus nature in criminal psychology and the Don of New Jersey himself. Until next time, this is Kev, signing out.